Hello, this is Katrina Kramlich with Inspired Spectrums, and I want to give you some tips in this video on how to encourage your child to be more flexible. So this tends to be either a problem or it's not. Sometimes you have really compliant kids, but also it tends to be more often that the flexibility is kind of a challenge, and the kids will be pretty rigid in what they want to do and how they want to do it and when they want to do it. And that's actually not much of a surprise because, as we know about children with autism, is their world is pretty understandable to them. They don't really understand a lot of what is happening. And so you can imagine if you didn't understand what was happening around you, that you might start to get pretty rigid too and have a really hard time doing things. So one of the ways to work on this in the playroom is giving them as much control as possible. The rest of their life might be pretty uncontrollable to them. They have to do what the teacher says when they're out there. They have to go to school. They have to eat breakfast when their mom says. They have to wear these certain clothes. And a lot of their things they don't necessarily want to do. They don't really understand why they have to do it. They don't really get what's going on. So the playroom is going to be the place for them to get all this control back in their life. So we're going to let them do whatever they want within reason, and we're going to have fun with it too. So it sounds counterintuitive, if you want to make somebody more flexible, give them more control, but that's actually how it works, and it does make sense if you think about it, because when you want to fight somebody and they want to fight you back, you start to get really defensive and rigid, and you're like, no, you hold on to it tighter, like, no, don't take this, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. But if you're playing tug of war and somebody says, oh, here, you can have it, then suddenly you don't necessarily want that control anymore. You're like, oh, well, you could have it too, So it's like the more control we actually give to a child, the less control they will need. So this is one of the reasons that the playroom can be so powerful, and I'm super excited that you guys are doing this within the schools, because this is really giving a child the time that he needs to regulate and process and have a lot of control, so that he will be more willing to go along with things in other places of his life, because he has so much control in the playroom. So give him as much control as possible, do what he wants to do. If he comes and takes a toy, give it to him. Have a lot of fun with giving him control. And be user-friendly with that too. If you see something that he wants, go out of your way to give it to him. Emphasize how much control he has in this playroom. And be silly about it. Every now and then, if a child's starting to get a little defensive, you can try being really silly with it. I know, especially it works with my stubborn daughter. And be like, Mister, what are you doing here? Come on, we're gonna have fun. And a lot of times that will be enough to crack them up. Other things, other strategies, let me think. Oh, explanations. Huge strategy. Whenever you're going to be doing something different, always explain what it is. So if you're going to be doing anything in the playroom, if you're going to do anything outside, explain your day to your fullest. And even when you walk in the room first thing in the morning, hello, good morning, it's so great to see you. Just a review, we're going to be in the playroom for 2 hours, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. Explanations prep a child for what's happening. And the more they understand, the more willing they will be to go along with it. And explaining, and a lot of people think kids don't understand, but that's not true. They can really understand everything. It's just, are they listening? Are they able to process it through their brain? I don't know, we'll see, but they really can understand. And a lot of times, when you talk to them in an adult voice, very thorough, it might take them longer to process, but they'll actually understand, and they'll do a lot of stuff for you when you give them that respect and that explanation. So explanations are key in helping a child to be more flexible. Even when you're playing in the playroom, maybe you're working on something like, maybe they don't really play games with you. Maybe all of the games are you doing everything and they never actually participate. So explaining the reasons why it's fun to do things, the more you do this, the more people are going to want to play with you. It's a give and take relationship, explaining all the little steps of it. And then another thing is role play. So if there is sort of a situation that is hard, then you act it out several times for your child, or maybe a puppet acts it out. So before your child, before you can get them to add a new step into the game, maybe you play the game with a puppet first, with Mr. Shark, and he models the game first, and then you invite your child to do it as well. So flexibility, we'll talk to that more, because sometimes it can be very specific things, but generally the more control you give, the more explanations you give, and the more role play that your child has in order for them. Role play is helpful because like explanations, it gives your child a chance to process the information visually, and they can experience it themselves if they do it themselves. But the more they understand, the more willing they will be to be more flexible about something. So I hope that helps, and yeah.